All right, good morning. Thought maybe this morning go over a couple of different things and try to do them around a tune, an old tune. You may have heard me play it. You may have played it on a Wednesday at Panama River Shores. It's an old tune. It's kind of attributed to Stephen Foster. He wrote a song called Angelina Baker. Baker being the last name, Angeline Baker, and it morphed over the years into a song called Angeline The Baker. And so it is a tune that's typically attributed to Stephen Foster, although the versions that he wrote are a little bit different. It's usually done as a fiddle tune. So before we get a little theory here, before we get into the music, fiddle tunes are typically two parts, and Angeline the Baker is two parts, and they're typically done, it's usually called AABB. There's an A part and a B part, and typically fiddle tunes are played, the A part is played twice, and then the B part is played twice. And depending on the setting, if you're playing in an old-time setting, usually everybody is playing everything all at the same time. There's no individualized breaks in old-time music. You do some YouTube searches. In fact, search for Angeline the Baker, and you'll find some old-time versions with old-time fiddlers. Usually all the fiddles are playing at the same time until everybody gets tired. In bluegrass music, usually it goes A, A, B, B, and at the end of the second B part, it'll trade instruments because bluegrass is more centered on solos. Americana can be either way. This song is usually done as a fiddle tune, although there are words to it that are rarely sung. So I thought maybe to start with, I'd go through the tune a little bit. And just for fun, there are many verses. Do a Google search. I don't usually sing it, so I Googled some lyrics this morning just to give you an idea. And the reason I did that is we're going to go over some of these chopped chords, some of these closed chords today. We're going to have two positions we're going to use, and I'm going to show those to you, and they are in that chord chart. So anyway, right into it. It starts like this. Angeline the Baker lives in our village green. The way I always loved her beats all you've ever seen. Angeline the Baker, her age was 43. I bought her candy by the peck and she won't marry me. I never will forget her unless I drink a dram. Angeline the Baker, age was 43. I bought her candy by the peck, but she won't marry me. There you go. A little bit of Angeline the Baker. There's a couple things about the tune maybe talk about. I am going to go through everything that I just played. Nice thing about this tune is you're only going to use two fingers on your left hand. You're not going to have to use that pinky. You're not going to have to use the ring finger, at least not for the melody part. We are going to go over some chords too. We're going to go over two chord formations. First one is here, does use three fingers, and the second one is here. This is a D delta chord. If you look on that chord chart, make sure you can find that. If you can, I'll resend. In fact, I'll just go ahead and resend it to you. But you're going to use a 3-finger chord and a 3-finger chord for a G 4-chord. Nice thing about these formations, these closed formations, is remember that the 3 chords that make up a key, 3 major chords that make up a key, are the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. So with these 2 formations, you can make all 3 chords. I can make a D chord, I can make a G chord, I can make an A chord. And these 3-finger chords are used quite a bit. I use them a lot. If you watch Tim O'Brien, fantastic musician, mandolin player with Hot Rice, he uses 3-finger chords almost exclusively. A lot of bluegrassers will use 4-finger chords to get a full chop, and we'll go over that later. But let's see. Let's start with the chords. So let's start with this first formation, D chord. I'm going to have my ring finger on the 7th fret. It's going to be one that has a position dot. You should have position dots on the 5th fret, 7th fret, probably way up here on the 10th fret, and probably a double notch up here on the 12th fret. It's the same thing as on the front of my mandolin, but there's also position dots on the side of the neck where you can see them. So that ring finger goes down on the 7th fret where that first position dot is on the golf string. Index finger goes down on the 4th fret of the delta string. And then my middle finger goes down on the 5th fret of the alpha string. And I'm not going to play. I'm going to play just those 3 strings. I'm going to kind of use a portion of my fingers here to deaden this E string. I don't want that E string to open. One thing about the mandolin, there's 2 things about it as a rhythm instrument. One, I always think of the mandolin as being kind of a snare drum. It's on the upbeat, you know, if I think of bum chink, 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 the mandolin is emphasizing the chink, bum chink, bum, 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 which makes it very nice as an upbeat instrument. A guitar and bass, for example, or a downbeat instrument, they're emphasizing that bum on the bum chink, bum chink, bum chink. Mandolin is on the chink, or on the upbeat, which as a rhythm instrument gives you a decided advantage if you aren't familiar with a song, because you're going to get a quarter note to respond when you hear a chord change, whereas a guitar has got to be there on that downbeat, and the bass. So anyway, let's get back to the chord. Make your D chord, delta chord. So 7th fret golf, 4th fret delta, 5th fret on the alpha. Old MacDonald had a farm. Here it's on the downbeat. Old MacDonald. It's on the back side there. Old MacDonald. All right, let's make the 2nd chord. And the thing about Angeline The Baker is you're only going to need 2 chords. You're going to need a delta chord, and you're going to need a golf chord, which we learn this open chord. But you can't really get that chop in the open chords. That's why we're going to learn this closed chord. So this is a little different. My middle finger is now on the 4th fret of the golf string. Ring finger's on the 5th fret of the delta string. Index finger's on the 2nd fret of the alpha string. And the same deal on the echo string. I'm not going to let it ring. Kind of using the fatty part of my index finger is how I'm doing it to deaden that E string. So you're gonna have to work on transitioning between those 2 shapes. With those 2 shapes, you can play 95% of bluegrass music with just those 2 shapes, which is a nice thing about the mandolin. So in this case, it's Angeline The Baker, age was 43, better candy by the peck, she won't marry me. Angeline the Baker, age was 43. I fed her candy by the peck, but she won't marry me. Alright, a couple things that are going on there. So here, after I strum, I'm deadening. And all I'm doing is I'm leaving my fingers in the same position, but I'm relieving that pressure to deaden the strings. Angeline the Baker, because I'm just getting a poop, poop, like a snare drum. I'm getting a boop, boop, boop. It's not, there's not sustain typically, depending on the style of music. Typically on the mandolin as a rhythm instrument, there's not sustain. I don't do Angeline the Baker, age was 43. I mean, I can, and in certain kinds of music that does sound good, but typically Angeline the Baker, and I've got the guitar. If I'm playing in an ensemble, I've got the guitar in the background and the bass that have sustain, so they're making it. I'm sorry, I still have this cough. They are giving that sustain. So work on that. And now that you have these closed chords, the Baker, age was 43. I bought a candy by the peck, but she won't marry me. The one thing to get to that 5 chord, all you have to do, if this is the 4 chord, all you have to do is move it up 2 frets. And there's an A chord, so I have a G, I have a D delta, I have a G golf, and I have 2 frets up from that I have the A, the alpha chord, the 5 chord. And let's go over that just a second. I'm about to end this because it's getting 12 minutes and I'll do the melody on the next. You know, a lot of times you'll hear me talk about the 1, 4, and 5 chord. That's called the Nashville numbering system. Very helpful. Once you understand the key that you're playing in. So if I'm in the key of D, 1 is the delta chord, 4 is the golf chord, 5 is the alpha chord. If I'm in the key of A, I've got my 1 chord is the A chord, 2 chord is a D chord, 4 chord is the D chord, 4 chord is the D, and the 5 chord is an echo, E. So anyway, Nashville numbering system, you might want to Google that a little bit and understand Nashville numbering system, because I use it quite a bit, and you will hear it, especially in bluegrass circles, you will hear it used quite a bit. All right, that's about almost 13 minutes. I'm going to end there so I can get this onto YouTube, and I'll do a second video where I go over a couple other things, including the lead part to Angeline the Baker.